Right. On.
So if the Nazi Party was an American corporation, right? It definitely was, and we
Absolutely.
elect this guy into this position of power, right? The whole entire thing literally starts from this. People who run the banks globally, they don't have everywhere, but the places they have, they decide to take groups of people who act free, right? They don't think that exists
Right.
in America because nobody knows how to get together and organize in America due to the class system.
Yeah.
Okay. Then the
Right.
class system is directly related to the money system. Okay. Generic money, the money we use right now. The thing is that there are services, and each service has a different value, and you can manipulate the act of service for value tokens, right? Now, this is why they always say when a government prints their own money for their own citizens, that all the power is right there. They don't need to go to an outside source. And this is because everywhere has always had a third party money changer, right?
Yeah.
It's never been your country makes the money, it's your country gets to borrow the money,
Yeah.
right? We don't, as citizens, we don't even get money. We get public lawful tender. We get quarters, dimes, nickels, dollar coins, 75 cent, we get those denominations. And they've been nickel and diming us for years. Now they're taking the fucking penny, you know?
Facts. Facts.
But either way, that money, that is US mint. That is our money. You got to realize the tax exchange that happens when you go to a business who's using a license who has to pay all of illicit gains back to the company they borrowed it from, right? The IRS. They literally have to pay that money back. Now, when
Treasure.
you go then and you
Yeah.
buy something with change, now, do you think that it's called change because an exchange happened? We
Mhm.
now have to convert change from these dollar amounts. Like, you know what I'm saying? Anytime you put pennies into a roll and make 100 pennies in a roll,
Yeah.
right? That's not 100 pennies anymore. It says right on the side of it what it is. $1, right? That is no longer public lawful tender. This is why some places will bitch. They're like, we're not taking those pennies unless they're in a roll. Because when a business is accepting this coinage and making an exchange for tender that does not exist under their license, right? And it goes back
Right.
the same way, whether you give them notes and get change back. There's a whole thing to that,
Right.
a whole big thing to that. Anyway, I'm not going to trail too far on the US bullshit. We already know it's bullshit. We already know it creates classes. We already know it separates both genders from each other.
Yeah.
It makes it
Facts.
so neither can fulfill their role, and each one of them has to fulfill both roles on their own individually together, just because of this money system. So now let's go to Germany here again, okay? Germany was a country that has already shown signs in the past that they're tired of being the fucking grunt, right? Because in a system of class, one guy gets a good job, seven other guys get the bad jobs,
Yeah.
right? You know what the good job is? The good job is continually producing worthlessness.
Yeah. The good jobs are the people who provide no value.
Yeah,
Okay,
providing full
the
value. Let me
the
imagine
bad jobs,
by watching.
the bad jobs are the people who do the physical labor for no barely any way to eat every day, just enough to come back to do more labor, which actually holds the system up. Good
Right.
jobs versus bad jobs. Now, Lincoln,
Yeah.
President Lincoln,
Oh.
he wanted to turn our currency into
Presidente.
currency backed by the US, right? That would have been a great thing. However, the guy was very classist. Fuck yeah, he was classist. Rather than free the slaves, he made everybody else a slave. Okay. So what does that do? That makes it so they get a money back by themselves, backed by the labor of their own slaves. So then they would have controlled us through our money backed by the US. Good thing they shot that fucker. Now, Kennedy's speeches, we start getting into Kennedy's speeches. His speeches are similar to what the Hitler speeches were about trying to make a money for us, by us. You know, it was a people thing. Even if it directly doesn't say that money, a lot of times the money is only the mechanism by which it runs. Because now we're talking about unions, we're talking about quality of work for bad jobs, right?
Right.
These are the people who are real. The other people, they're the ones on the hill wearing their suits. They don't even know how to pretend that they need a newspaper at night. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
They flaunt that they have a blanket, right? Now, so Kennedy trying to bring money back without the slave class, the people class, beloved by the people. Well, you can't do that. Shoot that fucker.
Mhm.
Okay, you're
Right.
not allowed to do it whether it's good or bad. Okay, you know you got to think about it. No, all the good guys were really bad guys, and all the bad guys are really good guys. You do not become a saint unless you did something for the church.
Right.
Okay? And you can't do something for an entity that only exists in ideology or name without violating human beings. You cannot do it.
Truth.
Yes.
When you put the institution above, ahead of, or above the people it comprises, it is corrupt and profane.
Okay, so before World War II, in Germany, you could walk down the road with a wheelbarrow full of German marks and still not afford a loaf of bread. And they were under sanctions that said that they can't print money. But Russia was allowed to print all the German money they wanted to fucking print. And this is why the inflation was happening, because Russia was literally printing the money. Now, do you think Russia was printing the money, or do you think one of those suits that we're talking about with the good jobs was literally printing money?
Mhm.
What do you do with all that printed German marks? Do you think that goes to anyone in Russia, or do you think that goes to more of the suits? Because if you're going to hyperinflate something, you want the money to go to the people who you have on the inside, right?
Fair.
Right.
Yeah.
We're not making them poor by making them make less. We're making them poor by making what they have worth less. So a human life is a chemical reaction, right?
Electrochemical.
Yeah, but it's still a chemical reaction. It's
Yeah.
like you make a battery out of a potato. It's still a chemical reaction. Only when you close that in a loop or you wrap it up in nice dressing does it become a battery. So when you take wages and you take a human being and you wrap a human being in wages, he now becomes worthless to anything not using him as a battery. Everything he does is not for him. He will continue to discharge. So you make a human battery. Okay, you say, hey, let's take that human being. We'll offer you so much an hour. We really don't give a fuck about the money aspect of it, because when you first get your job, it's all about how you sell it. You'll never make more than what you sell in your interview. You know what I'm talking about?
Yep.
But it's all on how you sell it. So as long as they can get you to make the contract's what it's about. Okay? They make a contract, you temporarily become an asset of that company, and therefore it raises its net worth because you're a human battery, which is limit worthless, you know? Well, it's limited based on your age. But they take your age and they say, this guy's worth this amount of money. He has this much potential life left. And we added that to our corporation. Our corporation now says, no, we have 4,827 trucks. We have over 1 million employees. We have 32 batch plants. You know what I'm talking about?
Yep.
Right.
They take the net worth and they immediately borrow from the bank.
Yep.
That is where your payroll comes from the whole rest of the fucking fiscal year. So you won't be able to get a raise during that time because your whole wages have already been paid for. The money literally doesn't exist to pay you more. They didn't borrow it up.
They don't even give it to they gift it to you. It's a gift. It's not an actual payment.
Well, so the reason they're not paying you because you are just it goes like this. There's a sign on the wall. It says wage labor or wage. It's a federal poster, right? They're in every job site.
Mhm.
You've seen them, right?
Yeah.
This is what your wage can be. This is what your thing is, blah, blah, blah. The reason every business needs to do that is because they are acting as a sister corporation under the umbrella of the federal government. So because you have the right, as per House Joint Resolution 192, which was first made in 1913 about war bonds for Federal Reserve notes, ratified in 1933. Okay, since it was ratified, What it originally meant is this: you can take your medium, your worthless paper, to us, and we'll give you gold back for it. Right? What they did after that said, we're tired of giving gold back, so we're going to amend it. So we will give you back legal tender. Instead of giving you gold or silver, we have options. So we can give you anything that's legal. Okay? If you agree a service is legal, good. If you agree goods are legal, good. If you agree that Federal Reserve notes are legal, good. Right? Gold could be legal, but we're not going to give you our gold, but we could.
Right.
Now, so what this does is you, as the flesh and blood human being, you go to this business and you install yourself as a battery. You plug the battery into the business and the business starts making profit while draining you. Now, what they are doing when they're giving you that wage back, okay, is they're paying your name. They're not paying you. They're paying your name that is held as an asset, right? It's like paying your monthly dues on your life insurance. Okay? They pay you the money to your name. So check it out. Who did the labor? Did your name do the labor or did you do the labor?
You do the labor.
Indeed.
Okay, and they're paying the name. So what they're doing is they're making you, the flesh and blood being, sign a paper, right? When you hire on your W-2 or W-4, whatever the fuck it is, right? They make you sign and then agree on your own how you exchange the medium. So what they're saying is, because we don't have real money, we work for the federal government will back us and let us issue you blank checks in the value of whatever you're going to endorse, and you get to negotiate it. Right? Now, if you get direct deposit, do you get to negotiate it that you, the flesh and blood being, got the money, or does it automatically go to the name? Because your bank account's open in your name, right? And it's credits drawn on account, and it's not even your money. They're just holding credits for you.
Yeah, it's not even money at all.
It's not money.
It's not even money at all. Okay, so if you sign a direct deposit and sign your W-4, you have already agreed that your name is making money illegally, and you will pay a tax on that at the end of the year. You will reimburse for the damages you caused by taking that guy's labor to generate revenue.
Unless you file a W-8-BEN.
Well, so I'm a non-taxpayer. I don't fill out their forms. I'm never going to fill out their forms because
I get money back, so I do. I get money back.
They never take my money.
Never file taxes as if they are going to pay you money.
Okay, but so I asked you, do they owe you money based on the money they already took?
I give them child tax credits.
So you're acting as a steward on behalf of the corporation. Okay, you're not even acting as the actual genetic teacher of the child. You're acting as the steward over the name of the child. That's why truancies and things like that. The tax credit is literally agreeing that yes, I'm acting as a government employee for my offspring as a name that you guys own. You know what I'm saying? So is it really a tax credit, or is that reimbursement for the job you're doing? Like, you're acting as trustee, you have a fiduciary obligation over their child. So that's why you're getting a tax credit. But now you're bound by the laws. Now, not the laws of nature, and you're not even allowed to teach your child anymore anything other than what they tell you can teach a child, because they're paying you to do so. You get what I'm saying? There's contracts you're getting into without even realizing them. I mean, I get it. I get the money thing, but is it really money?
No.
No, but it's smart to play their game while you have to.
Well, for sure. Honestly, my advice to everybody right here, the best thing anybody can do if they're already paying taxes, right, is to file exempt right at the end of the fiscal year, okay? Switch to exempt, which you can do for 6 months as a taxpayer, okay? And then pay the remainder of the money you owe at the end of that year when you file for those exempt 6 months, right? And then the next year, because along with your next year, you just won't pay anything and you file exempt forever then on. And you don't have to worry about it, because with your payment, you also send a letter. You're not filling out an IRS form asking permission. You're going to write your own damn letter saying, holy shit, I've been being fucking lied to this whole time, and I'm done being raped. Sorry, I thought you were selling these goods, but in all reality, these are the actual goods you're selling, correct?
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
Done
Yep.
deal. I'm no longer a taxpayer. You know, if I since I was only a taxpayer in ignorance that I was duped into, right? I have come to my senses and I will no longer be duped. This is unconsensual and it was unwitting. You forced me into it via ignorance. And now that I'm not ignorant, I'm done. And
I'm
once
done.
you file that paper standard certified mail, they won't even probably come after you because check it out. They don't come after you for not paying taxes. They come after you for not filing paperwork because they already took money assuming you are a taxpayer. So basically, they steal from you first, and then the law says you have to prove that they didn't steal from you. You get what I'm saying?
Emoluments, yeah.
So they're committing a crime first, and you are going to exonerate them from the crime. That's the law. But if you're exempt the entire time, that proves the only paperwork that they have is paperwork that proves no paperwork exists for liability. Therefore, they won't even have numbers to come after you for.
Right.
No fucking joke. This is what I've been doing my whole life. I file exempt. I've actually had businesses that I filed exempt and then they paid taxes and my check came back and I looked at it and I was like, what the fuck is this? And they've already paid it. And I've raged the business and every single time I get a new check printed without that amount taken off and they're at a loss because they've already paid the taxes.
Mm-hmm.
And if the IRS ever tried to say, hey, taxes were paid here, well, the employer has proof that that was accidental. I mean, the IRS isn't going to give it back to them, but they have to provide proof that that was unintentional. You get what I'm saying? It actually costs more money. Like they fine you a fee. There was a whole scam some guy did. I'm trying to remember what it was, where if somebody else sends a check that bounces or cancels the check to the IRS in somebody else's name, you automatically get hit with a fee next year at your tax season. They'll be like, you still owe us for this fee because the check bounced. And a guy was trying to resolve it with the IRS for so long. And what he did is he started writing letters, 2 letters a day with checks that are bounced that he canceled intentionally for these IRS agents to pay their taxes, building them up a debt every single fucking time because of their policy. They changed their policy on that. Like there was a thing. Anyway, okay.
Brilliant.
Germany. Germany.
Germany.
Hitler got everyone together and he said, hey, let's quit getting fucked by these people and let's bring back purpose in our jobs. We know that you guys don't like being on the street with more money you can do anything with other than burn it to be warm. And we know you want to go to work and actually be able to do something with your day. And we know that you want it to mean something. Let's kick these guys out and say, fuck all their money and we'll do this. If you go to work all day, then you can go get anything else that anybody else has done, right? So I go to work and I do a service 8 hours a day. Well, I have access to service. I can go out there and say, hey, this guy's been breaking a loaf of bread. I get a loaf of bread because he made it that day. He made enough for everybody because that's his job is in 8 hours. I get my loaf of bread. I get to go down to the TV store where they make TVs this batch. I get a TV. I get the same thing everybody else has because I'm putting into it. Service tokens. That is actually what socialism, I guess there's multiple degrees, but that's what socialism was in Germany at the beginning. A direct opposition to capitalism. Okay? So when you have money that is backed by your government, backed by the things that you do or the things that your government can provide to you within itself, okay? We have 10,000 people. We got 40 bakers, 40 plumbers. You know what I'm saying? You take all the numbers, you take all that. If you go and do your job and do your role, you have access to all those other things. You can literally exchange the medium that says, hey, I went to work today. I'll pay you I went to work today for this, It's a direct exchange. That's how they had it. Now, what happened is immediately every other nation around them said, whoa, 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 whoa. If you get caught trading our printed monies for their goods, you will also be sanctioned.
Yep, you gotta pay taxes on that.
So you know how they got around that? They bartered with their neighbor. They said, hey, Russia, you guys make pretty cool planes. And they're like, yeah, you make pretty cool tanks. You want to trade? That's what started happening. But then what started happening to these people around them? We know you're bartering with the people we're trying to enslave. We don't want them to show anybody else that this can be done, right? And this is also a corporation. So American elites, bankers, Scott Bush, he's one of them. Ford, Henry Ford, he's one of them. Okay. All these families, all these people, Sam Walton, all these guys got together and like, hell yeah, we got our party over there, we got it, and we're able to steal. The whole goal was to steal the money laundering from the money changers. Think about it. It's a group of opposing money changers. It always has been. It always has been. King James versus the Prince of France. I don't like that my nephew has control over there with his own private money changers who are still part of the family, my money changer. I'm mad at them. I'm going to bring a bunch of my slaves, and you better bring a bunch of your slaves, and we're going to make them beat each other with sticks. May the best Lord who has the best living conditions win. By living conditions, more slaves, you know? So that was literally what America was doing. We were trying to steal it all through the weak link, which has always been the oppressed people who have been under the oppression from fighting back. That was the Germans at the time. Even back to 1690, you know, the Irish people and Scottish people, we have our own fight going on, and they'll never get us all. But for the majority of it, we are the backing source to the monarchy's money, the labor. Okay? So the Germans, they owned the stock market. They owned the free shit. They owned the trade market. And the trading companies were more wealthy than the monarchies. You know, in the 1700s, things like that. Think about it. Who was more wealthy? The fuckers with boats who were going around making all these fucking charters. The king's like, give me a cut of that. Right? Anyway, so if you want to steal from your neighbors, well, the ones we golf with, you know, fuck all the lowly beans, you know. I'll see you out on the greens, you know, by the way, you know, fuck you and your whole nation. We dropped 6 bombs. See you on the greens. You'll be there on Sunday, right?
Believe it.
Anyway, they go and say the way we're going to do it is we're going to instill a regime, a corporation, Nazis. Okay. And as we do that, we will use that and put political matters and rile up the people with freedom as the carrot on the stick. Okay. You literally instill factions, you instill things, you get it, and you start preaching truth because that's the only way this would happen. Hitler was not jumping up and down saying, let's kill the Jews. Do you want to join me? You know? Hell no, that's not what was happening. He was giving legitimate, actual truth and speaking of the actual problems that their people faced. They rallied together. They then used this medium of exchange, which was the thing that was oppressing everybody forever. That literally is what it is, money. They got rid of money. They went to this whole entire thing. What happens then? You are now such a problem in the world that we got to stop that. We have to have a reason why we're stopping it too. Right? What is the only reason that they're going to war? It didn't even involve us, right? Fuck you. That's a whole ocean away. We don't give a fuck. Other than that's our corporation in there that's trying to steal this from them. All right, Henry Ford, start supplying them ball bearings, start supplying them trucks. Most of the German vehicles in World War II, the trucks were Fords. Most of the tanks they were shooting at us, the turrets spun on American-made ball bearings. Okay.
Henry Ford sued the U.S. government for bombing one of his tank factories. Won and fucking won.
I'm sure he did. Imagine that. Because it was an American corporation. But so what I'm trying to say is when the guys who were the good corporate, you know, by them losing, they paid to lose. They paid to organize the Nazi power to lose in order to win. Okay. Wow. Now I'm talking about opposed conditions and things because what do we do? What did we do in America? We won to lose. All the corporations involved in American manufacturing during World War II that were producing superior goods than the rest of the world were immediately shut down after World War II. And the same thing, like Henry Ford suing the U.S. government, they did these same bullshits to shut down these corporations. It was basically a scheme to get all the good guys to announce themselves, join the cause, because if you're part of the cause, you're a bad guy. You're our next target.
Right.
Like you think about that, right? It literally did shift that way. Like, so if everything you do is equal to what other people do, we don't want classes with that money. There won't be classes to check it out. I don't want to go shovel shit all day. Well, then why don't we put the pride in the stuff we have, which is our only driving force going to work, right? Right now, our driving force in America is for if I don't go to work, I won't be able to keep going to work tomorrow, and I'll be living on the streets. Right?
Right.
For a
So
lot of
there,
people.
it's what is your driving force? Like here in America, you got to look at it this way: you have to have pride in your work, but you don't have to have pride in your work. You just got to have pride in you. And since having pride in you, because you don't have to give a damn about your job to do a good job at your job. But if you give a damn about you, you won't let yourself do a shit job because your name's on it.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
That's the trick to giving a shit about a job you don't give a shit about. Right? You have to trick yourself. But in a system where there's no class because a service is worth a service, right? What do? We're tired shoveling shit. Well, let's all put our minds together to change the way things are so we don't have to have that as a job. Because the only reason we have these shit jobs is so that these fuckers who are continuing producing worthlessness can continue to do this.
That's where innovation comes from.
But do you think fast food owners eat their food?
Unlikely.
Unlikely, yeah. So it has nothing to do with food. It has to do with generating revenue by fucking people's lives over.
Right.
Right? Those kind of jobs go away. Only jobs that produce goods for the nation. It's like this. We have 100,000 people. Do we really need to have 300,000 TVs produced annually?
Right.
Yes, because we're going to export
Right?
them too.
Yeah, but why don't we just build the best one and everybody gets one, and then only once in a while does a guy have to repair one or build a new one? You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Now you can cut that down. You can be like, okay, we build 1,000 every 5 years. Everyone got one. We'll build 1,000 every 5 years. That's what we go through. That's what breaks. Jobs diverted elsewhere. Right? That way you build a lawn chair and you build the best lawn chair. You don't build a lawn chair that's going to break after sitting in it twice.
No.
Now everybody has a good lawn chair. So you can engineer, and that allows the mind to exist freely. It still includes barter, and it includes a money system. In other words, did you go to work today? Which, that's actually even better than what it would be if they did what they want to do, where they're like, we control all your bank accounts. It's all digital credits. You go to work today or we cut off your credits. Right? Because that still has a class system. Because if you have to have a worth, now we're going to judge you by your worth. You only have 25,000. This guy has 100,000. You're 3/4 less of a man than he is.
Yeah.
Even if you did go to work today.
Especially if money is speech.
Well, speech is so I take offense at that. Just kidding. For my next trick, I'll take it personal. Okay. I look at that wrong though, because money isn't speech. Speech is commerce, but money is not commerce.
Fair.
Okay, money is commerce, but commerce is not money. And speech is commerce. So money and speech are equivalent goods of exchange. Money is a good you exchange, speech is a good you exchange, labor is a good you exchange. So it's commerce. So commerce is good for humanity, but money is not. That's what I'm claiming.
I would tend to agree.
I think the word is worth more than money.
For a minute, I'll be right back.
Do it.
All right.
So check this out. What kind of jobs do you think exists in the society that has not bottlenecked humans through this idea of worth based on value of money, right? What type of jobs do you think exist in that world?
I mean, a lot of gardening and healing and caretaking and stewarding.
Think you got lawyers? I don't think you got lawyers.
No, not very many.
I wonder how you have crime so check this out. When you don't have to deal with class and ownership to determine love, there's no such thing as love because everyone has these other factors, these other securities they're seeking. You know what I'm talking about? If everybody has access to all the goods of humanity just by being a human, right? That's future and past. That's like the way you want it to be. Then you get to know who you are. Because it's not, I have to save up $10,000 to see if I like paragliding, right? To see if I like paragliding, right?
Yeah.
I can go check it out and see if that's what I want to do. As long as, I might not be able to provide in the community because I made a dumb choice and ended up dying paragliding. But you know what? There's no debt from it. The only thing is the community now suffers.
Yeah.
We're not so what do our laws become if that's the case? Do the laws literally become don't cause harm, because if you cause harm it'll affect our community? Dan can't show up to work anymore. Dan's dead. Now only Jeff and Tito got to go do it. Dan can't help him because of the dumb law. Not, oh, Dan was trying to get to work because we forced him into work, but he was going faster than the other slow fuckers in the way with no sense of urgency. We got to stop him. I detected this sense of urgency. Sense of urgency equals money, right?
True.
Yeah, what
True.
kind of, the only laws that exist are financial laws, right? Marriage is always, always been a political thing.
And ever since
Why
they
divorce
decided
is so
to,
important.
ever since they decided you need a piece of paper to do it, yeah.
Well, it always needed a piece of paper. Even before King James made divorce legal. Yeah, always. Marriage always needed that piece of paper. You know,
Well, I
you
mean,
all now to be wed is different than to be
ever,
married.
ever, ever, ever since we switched over to AD from BC, marriages needed a paper. When the Romans, yeah, that's a Roman thing. That was not a real thing in any other culture other than the Western cultures.
So would it be safe to say that Rome is the ones that established the idea of the habeas corpus? In other words, something existing in name or title that has rules and regulations. Like I'm saying, before Romans, there were clans, right?
Yeah,
Right? And then the whole village. The reason you'd have a ceremony when you're getting married in a clan is because the whole village is backing you, and you make your oaths in front of the village who's part of you, who you don't betray yourself.
yeah,
That was the piece of paper. But when Rome started coming around and saying, well, we have the Judea's front, the people of the Judea's front. Well, we're the Judea's front of the people.
Hmm.
You ever seen Life of Brian? Monty Python
Uh,
Life of Brian?
I probably. That's one of the ones I know I didn't see watch a lot of.
Well, in it, there's a whole lot of groups. They're all for the freedom of the Judea people. But there's like 12 different groups, and they're fighting with each other because you're not our group, you're another group, and it's just changing a couple of the words around each group.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah.
You end up with six different freedom fighting groups, all fighting for the same thing, but they got different names. You know what I'm saying? That's where marriage comes in, because marriage is a merging of those type of existences. So if the Judea's front joined the people of Judea's front, if the Judea's front of the people joined the people's front of Judea, right, that would be a marriage. So I could see Rome being involved in that shit. Any marriage is literally just taking this birth certificate and this birth certificate and conjoining them, right?
Yep.
Like when fucking Pizza Hut makes its comeback and
Can,
buys
can,
out Domino's, who filed Chapter 11 bankruptcy. They
hmm,
did. Did you know that?
I did not.
They're one of the largest chains too.
Domino's, oh yeah, they're huge.
They're the largest pizza chain, but they're also one of the largest franchise chains.
Huh.
You want to know what number one is? Subway.
Subway
There are
for
more Subways,
that. I
more
think
Subway locations.
I don't know if that's true anymore. I know
Pick
they
the podunk
were
town. Pick a podunk town that's in the middle of nowhere. They got a Subway.
yeah,
They might not have an Arby's, but they got a Subway.
100%.
Okay. There's a high probability they have a Subway. Okay. There's a high probability they have a Domino's, and an even higher probability they have a Subway. Everything else is underneath that. I just was rarely looking at those lists. It
Yeah.
was a random thing.
Yeah, no, I knew Subway was for a long time, but then I thought I heard something that they were closing a bunch of stores. Don't know if it made them smaller though than the number one spot.
Well, if they're closing, you know, 7,000 restaurants, okay, they already had more than everyone else. So they still have a higher number than McDonald's, who also had to get rid of 7,000 people.
That's true.
Or you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Everywhere right now. Kennedy, right now, as as the health position he's in right now, has been phenomenal. Every single day, a new product is recalled. And it's not that the product was bad and they fucked it up at the factory. It was that they've been fucking it up for generations, and now this chemical is banned and we have it on the shelf, so we have to recall it.
Yep.
Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I mean, that shit happens every day.
Yeah.
The only problem is they're just coming up with new, better ways to do bullshit.
Yeah.
Ain't gonna
Well,
fix your food. It's just gonna adapt your food.
well, I mean, it's the same thing with a lot of the research chemicals. You know, like, oh well, if you're gonna outlaw the all the natural drugs, we're gonna just come up with research chemicals to do the same thing that aren't legislated against, and then market them, push them, imposter them into and call them actual drugs. And you end up with you crap like fentanyl that takes over heroin markets. It's a kind of comical way that they
Monopolize on stunting your health.
yeah, oh yeah,
Yeah, that's what they're doing.
like
They're
and
literally
that
saying you can't have these because they work. What we'll do is we'll create something that pretends to do that thing
yeah,
out of our pocket. We had to pay to build it, so you got to pay to get it. Sorry, for
yeah,
your sake.
yep.
Now get here for the mandatory vaccination.
Yeah, and it's this, and like I said, it's the same model for black market substances or pharmaceutical substances. It's the exact same thing.
Man, even when they gave us back our weed, right? But did
Not
they really
really.
give us back our weed?
No, they waited
Or
until it
they
got
just give us
they waited until it got to a level of genetic modification or interbred modification that it's not what it used to be, and then they said, oh, okay, well now it's okay because it's not, it doesn't have the same natural terpenes and flavonoids and balances of chemicals that was actually good for people.
the founding fathers made it good for us.
Mhm.
It's in their notes. They separated the seeds that they found to be more potent, and they were required to grow the hemp.
Oh yeah, many
It
times.
was running guns and drugs. That was what the founding fathers did for sure.
Well, even World War II, they mandated that farmers start growing hemp after we got cut off from the Manila hemp in Jakarta.
Man, it's fucked up how history, like they use the words. So it's like it's a secret society. If you know about it, okay, you know about it, but you don't have a fucking clue what they do, right?
Right.
But if you don't know about it, generally you know what's going on, but you don't know who's doing it. See, that's what I'm talking about. Because Lincoln's socialism money would be communism. Hitler's was against communism. It was for the people. Because if you want to use the people as a powerhouse, right? And what they didn't do any transgression other than trying to prevent those who are being regulated from infringing on them. You guys are doing this money thing. We're going to come encroach on your border. Right? Literally. Is that what was going on?
That sounds about right.
Yeah. I wanted to bring that up. The whole, as long as there's a pecking order thing above you, you're good to go. Hitler did great things. He's a bad fucking guy.
Yeah, fair.
The Pope, the Pope, I don't know what he did. They try to tell us nothing about what the Pope did. I think it'd be bad if we knew what the Pope does.
Probably,
But
probably.
he's a great guy,
Mhm.
just like that secret society thing. What polarization did you start in? What condition are you going with?
You know,
Money's the damn same. In all reality, check this out. I like these groups. I like some of the groups we got there about this financial shit that people got going on from a taxpayer's point of view. But I think that I would like to establish a thing for individuals who find a way to quit paying the IRS in general and quit using their forms. And I would literally name it the church.
Mhm.
The church. Because they always say in the end there will be two churches: the church that's a corporation, right, and the true church. So if the same thing applies, that we have a church right now that their guise is a church, but everything you do is a hidden corporational agenda. Even paying your tithing, you know why they pay their tithing? Established because they get money back from the IRS at the end. We donated to a charitable organization.
Yeah.
I made 100,000 that year. I donated $10,000 to a charitable organization. You can't even establish a church unless it's a corporation. It has to be established as a corporation. So you get what I'm saying? If I make a corporation, the whole point of it is establishing these individual corporations for our members of the church. Honestly, I'm going to do some of that stuff people end up in jail for. Go and hunt down the gold bars that are buried for the church. I wouldn't sell them their gold bars back. I would literally take the gold bars and we would put them in an account for a building we would build for the church, and we would use that gold to lend people money in our church. Because that way you're actually acting as a corporation on behalf of the people. You need to run it like a corporation and let people know.
That kind
Church
of
is a fucking
that kind of sounds like the direction that some of these groups are headed.
well,
Like
the fact they've
that.
been lying to people.
Uh-huh.
I want to look at it this way. Well, I'm a member of the church, which means I got to go on Tuesday because I would go on Tuesday and I'm going to file some papers. That was me going to church. Now I get a benefit in life and do all the things I got to do in life because I'm a member of the church. Where the other church is like, well, we're not really a corporation like that. We have a set day, Sundays. You come on Sunday. You don't get to go on Tuesday and fill out papers. No, you come on Sunday and you prostrate, and we'll pump you with fear and our version of interpretation, and then you'll donate.
Yeah.
Right? I'm not paying my church. My church is going to pay me. Right? What the fuck is the church doing with this money? Are they helping people?
Well, I don't know.
I mean, we'll pay if you're unfortunate. We'll pay your rent if you follow our terms and conditions.
There's been a lot of chatter about what the Mormon Church has been doing with their money,
Those are the ones I'm talking about.
and
They're the wealthiest.
And it ain't helping their people.
Well, it is helping their people. Well, you got to think about that too. They have callings, church callings, where they can get free labor from specific individuals because it's a church calling. And well, you're this part in the church, so you have to go do this, or you'll be considered inactive member. You're not doing your church calling. And then they have places like the DI where they get the labor off of people where it's minimum wage, and then they add it in there because some of these people aren't going to work just because it's the church. But they have all these different things that the church does off free labor. Then they have all these side corporations that are all taking all this extra labor so that they can add some sort of taxation and charge to these corporations so that there's money going through. That's what happens in the daylight. What happens in the shadows? Who's running the drugs? Who's paying for all the porn? Okay. If we pay for all the porn and make it so it's there, we're going to pay these actually to get porn, because what that will do is that will create an adversary for our members, right?
No.
That way, with our faith, we can hold a seminar how to not succumb to Satan's fucking porn. This shit's bad.
Yeah, it's a pretty accurate summation.
I'm glad the church pays for it, though. But you got to remember, the church is subject to kings and rulers. Like, the coin is very important to the church, the monetary thing. And these things like porn, they have become so staple in your society that it's just like every other thing. It's now a considered part of the gears of all the economy. There are people that have jobs based on this porn. There are hundreds of thousands of people that have jobs based on porn. If you were to cut porn out, where would all these people get their income? Where would all this money from these people be going to these other places like your fast food and all these other things? It's literally like a cancer. If you were to cut it out, the whole thing would fail because it's already supplemented part of your economy. So you're saying that we never wanted to get rid of porn, because if you check it out, if you got rid of all the porn, and a comedian said this, there would be one website on the internet called Bring Back the Porn. Bring Back the Porn, yeah. Right? And that'd be the only year slowly trying to hold up all the porn economy that was part of the rest of the economy. You know what I mean? But, it would be the black market version. We didn't want to get rid of porn. We wanted to use porn as the method of making you update your computers. We wanted it to update your computer so that you're more conforming to AI. Exactly. You're more conforming to what your network is and how you assume liability for your VPNs or whatever the fuck your IP is. We're trying to. So there's legislation in California right now that is forcing any operating system to have constant API to verify your age.
Yeah.
Yeah. They want to do that because they can specifically say you are the consenting individual for all the actions of that computer.
So you're gonna have to log in. So you're gonna have to log into your smart fridge.
Well, I'm sure you will. They have calculators that you're not even allowed to use in California anymore because they couldn't define operating system.
Yeah.
And it's funny, they're already having fallback on it right now because they're like, oh shit, what do we do about multiple user machines?
Yeah, no, really, they really, they really know how to shoot themselves in the foot.
Well, think about it. The internet, the computers have been a fundamental role in forcing people to look away from the enslavement. So check this out. Right now, we all are slaves of the economy. You really are. Okay. But in order to not look at that, we want you to be a slave of your own image through our digital media. Right? More people are a slave of their digital image than they are a slave of the economy. Like right now, check it out. We are broker. So money has inflated over 300% since the Great Depression.
Yeah.
In the Great Depression, if we took the amount of money people were making today, the poorest guy who lost his house and lost all his shit would be making the equivalent of $60,000 a year.
Hmm.
Are you making that?
No comment.
You make that on a 9 to 5?
Not most of them, no.
Yeah, no. So we're poorer than they were in the Great Depression. But the thing is, we have so many amenities that have been instilled upon us. Like you're born into a world where you don't even know how to be you because all you're cared about is making it through the fucking day. I got to make it through school today. It's prisoner mentality. Somebody told me it's funny. They're like, "Oh, I had dreams that I got sent on a mission again," and I told them it sounds like PTSD, right?
Yeah.
They didn't like it. That's what it is. You're born with prisoner mentality before you even know you're a prisoner. 6 more days, I can quit this job. Fuck this job, and you quit giving a shit 6 days before you get there.
I kind of wonder about every religion that sends their young out on a mission. It's like they intentionally send their young out to get doors slammed in their face so that they're so scared of people that they come crying back to mommy.
Well, yeah, check it out though. Not everybody does that. A lot of people invite them into their homes. A lot of people actually do this, okay? Because a lot of people want religion. A lot of people want religion, but it's not religion they're seeking. They want the group who can feel spiritual with them.
That's exactly.
So when someone comes in their home and starts selling spirituality, they're looking for that because that's what's missing from religion because spirituality has been taken from humans, right? They're looking for the community.
Yeah.
Exactly. So they're being taught, these young are being taught that anybody who doesn't follow your view on religion is someone to be scared of. They're going to slam the door in your face. You're not even going to give them the chance anymore, and you're going to completely misinterpret what that even was of the door being slammed on your face because it wasn't you come to share spirituality.
From whose side?
Well, I'll talk about the kid who went on a mission.
The kid who went on a mission, he's enforcing a corrupt idea through fanaticism.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? If a missionary can convince you to follow that church, it reinforces his faith in the church. Right? Like, I'm taking this from Terry Goodkind book too, just because the same one where Wizard's first rule came from. Okay. Advocates of truth, right? Seek understanding through logic and reason. Okay. Where corrupt fanatics use brute force to enforce their corrupt ideas.
Fair.
So how's our law system work?
Uh,
Is it the first or the later?
Well, it's definitely, as far as I can tell, like people who go to court are doing so out of fear of consequences rather than anything else.
Yeah, the later. You know how they sold it to us? It's you're innocent until we prove you guilty by going over the facts. How many people go to court and they say the facts prove I'm not there, and the court says, "Whoa, ho, ho, ho." You think we look at facts?
Mm.
What is a fact? That is a fact.
It's true. That is true. They are more concerned with administrative progress process than any actual, lawful consideration.
So there, how do you actually take the system down? They say you can't take it down from inside the system,
No,
right?
no.
But what if you still have to interact with it to take it down? So the best way to take it down is to use the system from outside of the system. You
Yeah,
know what I'm saying?
I do.
Because that's what these others are doing. They're not part of the system, but they use the system. Now, most people who are filing these forms, what are these forms? What do they say right on the top of them? Who are you? What's your tax identification number? What's all your shit? Who are you an agent of? How do we acknowledge you within our system? Right?
Yeah.
The only way to attack the system is from outside the system. That means you have to file a bunch of paperwork. That's what I'm getting at. It really is. You have to be able to use, because I got some ideas right here. If a corporation like Walmart requires you to get insurance, life insurance, just to be through Walmart, just to be an employee there, right? And it doesn't pay you out, why don't we use the same type of shit in our favor? Right? Rather than, so the name exists whether I like it to or not.
True.
And the Department of Transportation has already declared we're not liable for making a flesh and blood being appear on behalf of this vessel. Right? I've used this in court and been like, see, they even say they can't do it. So no guy exists. Nobody can show up on behalf of this name. Right? Well, what they do is they dupe you through words, they dupe you through culture. You're born into a world where you got to pay taxes, right?
Sure. Theoretically. You're buying stuff. If you're
That's
buying stuff, you're
that's
paying
the
taxes.
correct answer. That's the correct answer, but I wasn't looking for wrong answers only. Shit. No, if you can take, so they want you to be an employee for your name. That's how they charge you in the court. This is where the idea that everyone's like, be the trustee comes from. In all reality, what you want to do is you want to make a business because you can make a business. You're an American. Make a business, and the business acts as the name. Make the business do everything that they expected you to do de facto for your name that you didn't even want. You know what I'm saying? Any bill you have, you don't have a bill. That business has a bill.
Yeah.
Any taxes you got to pay, that business pays the taxes.
Yeah.
I'm not paying the taxes. And then any money I generate, keep in mind, I'm very good at this. I've fought several banks. I'm very good at going and making sure that that money comes to me and then yelling and getting into argument with management and their high ups and everybody every time I cash a check. I'm really good at making sure I get my money to me, not to my name. Non-negotiable for sure. Right?
Yeah.
So every bit of money that I take, that's not taxable. Right? I did the labor. I lawfully contracted my labor. I got lawful compensation. I'm not paying you restitution. Don't you dare harass me and try to come for restitution because if anything, you still owe me for these notes backed by you.
Hmm.
So because my employer is a federal employer, right?
Yeah.
They give me notes backed by the feds. That's the IRS.
Treasury, yeah.
So if I don't go to the bank and then get names drawn on my name, they're just me getting the notes changed from the check into Federal Reserve notes, non-negotiable, at face value. In other words, the feds couldn't pay me real money. You need to give me a medium I can use, but there's still your money, IRS. You still haven't paid me. So if you guys really want to come into it, when are you going to pay me? These boots, they're your boots. All this stuff is your stuff that I bought with money. The one thing I have that they wouldn't be able to fucking touch, right?
Harley?
Is my coins. Well, that Harley for sure too. Yeah, because there was no, there's also I have some old cars. If I had them all painted up and they were a vehicle, They would actually assess the value on it based on an auctioneer's value. But if they cannot assess a value on something, they don't exist. It's at its end of life. It's why insurance is so different. I pay $10 a fucking year to register my 56. That's pretty good,
Yeah.
you know. But so check it out. IRS is mad. You're doing something with money. They come bust into your house. Bam! We bust in this house. There's a swimming pool full of nickels, quarters, dimes, pennies. You know what I'm saying? How do they process that? They
They don't,
can't.
do
It's
they?
awful
Yeah.
tender. Yeah. But they come busting in, and there's a pool full of these rolled up, nice fucking, and they're in a little case. This was a gold coin printed by these guys, and it has a nice little case with a barcode you can scan, right? Because it's mint. That's going in the document. There's no way they're going to be able to say, well, we counted out 9 billion pennies. And there's 9 billion pennies in that swimming pool because how many we printed every single year? There's got to be 9 billion pennies in everybody's couch. That's why there's no more, right?
Makes sense.
Do you think all these old people who are holding on to all the wealth that they've converted into digital credits in their bank accounts? So is the bank holding on those pennies?
Not likely.
Oh no, they already converted them, right? So grandma doesn't have 9 billion pennies, right? That's definitely not 9 billion pennies in my couch or all my cars or any chair, none of them combined. It's not there. You know what I'm talking about?
Hmm.
I mean, if you take all the cars and couches have been thrown in the dumpsters, and there was 9 billion pennies in those couches and those cars. You know what I'm saying? There had to have been.
I mean, they got to be somewhere.
So do you know what they do? So we're talking about that Harley again. I want to bring that up because it's property. It's not a vehicle. So when a manufacturer makes all these pieces of property to be used as collateral in creating a vehicle based on someone's signature, right? Because
Hmm.
that's the only way they can get paid back. The only freaking way. That makes 100% sense. The manufacturer borrows $100,000 from the bank and makes as many cars as they can make with that. Okay. They get the material, they pay a guy in labor, and then they get it. And then they get it to the dealer. That dealer's got to get paid. And when the dealer sells it to you, the dealer ain't selling it to you to pay for all those costs, right? They ain't paying for those costs. It's paying for the dealership.
Yeah.
So this borrowed money, when does that get paid back? How does that get paid back? It gets paid back the second you, as a flesh and blood being, take it as property and allow the state to purchase it from you through eminent domain to turn it into a vehicle that they have ownership over and control over. That is where the payment goes. It pays back the deficit on it.
Hmm. Yeah, no, that correlates.
You know what happens to these cars that nobody ever signed for?
Nothing. I keep them. I mean, you kept yours.
Well, have you ever drove? Well, I signed for that. I just didn't give it to the state. I signed for it to pay off the debt, but they could drop in the treasury if they want on it,
If they
right?
want, if they want.
Well, if they knew how or were willing to do it. They wanted to try to dupe me, which was fraud, and it didn't work. They even got investigators involved, and an investigator involved on that several times, twice. I guess that's several. Anyway, these cars that nobody buys or nobody signs for, they actually get to go sit in airport parking lots for the rest of their life. Have you ever
Strange.
driven by? Have you ever driven by an airport?
Oh yeah, all the time.
How many fucking cars are there in those lots so that you can't get a parking spot there?
All the time.
Those are cars. Those are literal cars that never got purchased.
Huh.
No joke. We made 500,000 of this car. We only sell 83,000, and yet you see them everywhere when you drive by the airport in them fucking lots. No joke. You can look that up. This is where all that. So that's what keep in mind that first government bailout thing. You know, 2011, I think it was. You remember that whole bullshit? Government was bailing everybody out of everything.
Yeah, like 2010-ish.
Yeah. Well, what was the government bailing them out for? How many cars did you guys produce that are sitting in lots that didn't have signatures for? Really?
I guess that makes sense. Otherwise, they wouldn't need bailed out. Oh,
Now, obviously, check it
you
out. You know what that does? That actually promotes sales. When people fly into the airport and they see these cars in the lots, that actually makes and creates the image. Because right when you're traveling, you're trying to make the world seem bigger than it is so you can sell your agenda. Because when you're traveling, you first come in, that gives you an idea that there's a bigger population than there is.
yeah,
Plus, it shows you there's a bigger, wealthier population that can afford vehicles within the past 5 years, right?
no,
So you're going to pay for it some way or another. You're going to pay for it by helping us dupe the world, or you're going to dupe the world and get somebody to sign for it.
I mean it's good marketing.
Anyway, I feel like I'm just ranting. I've been ranting about money. I was trying to compare human beings. Like in America, when you go to work for a wage per hour, your life is worthless to you. You're
Yeah,
not working for you. Your whole life is for somebody else.
Working a charge of
The employers do not care. Okay, they're paying you money for you being there. They care that you weren't there the days you weren't there. Not that the work didn't get done, but you weren't there. It's not that they save money not paying you for not being there. Like, you get what I'm saying? Get that mentality there?
yeah.
I'd rather have you here doing nothing.
I already put it on the books. I'm going to pay you this, and now you'll screw up my entire everything, my entire books, my taxes,
Yeah,
everything.
if
I'd
I
rather
borrowed the money from the bank for his whole year of wage, when he quits on me, what do I have to do? I have to pay the bank.
You have to
back.
redo the entire thing. You have to redo your entire books. You have, your projections are completely off. Your projections were, I was going to pay this wage for 40
There's
hours
got
for
to
the
be
whole year.
profit in that.
But
There has to be profit.
I got to get on it. Is it cool to take that?
Sure. There's got to be profit when they borrow money from the banks for your labor. Okay. So when you do quit, a lot of times they take the loss and they hire a new guy to include a portion of the profit that they already borrowed. You get what I'm saying? You were $21, he's $25 in order to get the hook to get somebody to sign and fulfill the contract that was already borrowed on. I wonder if they got probationary period shit to cover for that. It's like baptisms for the dead in all reality. You might be thinking, well, how could this guy fill the role for another guy who we already borrowed on? Right? It's the same like this. Well, this machine broke down. The business has three excavators. One of them broke down. We bought another excavator and used it as parts from this one. So for taxing purposes, we're still at three. Nothing changes. Like you know how they do shit like that. Simple as that. Baptism for the dead, and that guy's good to go for the whole year. He definitely ain't getting a raise for three.
Yeah, right. Don't be a battery then.
Well, the thing about this is this: when we get home, if you go to work every day, when you go home, do you enjoy what you do? I don't enjoy what I do because I look at it and say everything that I'm allowed to do is the shit that they're allowing me to do to make it so I can't live a life that I couldn't live anyway because they've taken my life away 9 to 5 and they're filling me full of shit at the end of the day. You know what I'm talking about?
Oh yeah, I've
Like
been doing
TV,
I've been doing a lot better at it lately.
a lot. So even this shit that, there's a whole lot of this shit that we read or look somewhere else. It's still a biased opinion of things. You know what I'm talking about? It's still, and a lot of it, that's the problem. Here, so you have a church, but you have multiple sects across 3 states, right? Does every one of them teach the same curriculum, or is the interpretation varied based on the spiritual leader?
Yeah. Well, I mean,
Still under the umbrella of the church.
they all definitely vary. It's like saying
So,
they vary from every single individual person who's standing on that pulpit.
well, then what is the church? What are the ideas of the church? You know what I'm talking about? Is it the words that we get to interpret, or is it the generated energy? And everybody always says that. Now, keep in mind, this money is also energy. These numbers in an account is a value. It's energy. It's stored energy. It's also a battery of its own,
Oh, yeah.
right? So these energies literally get put into these places. Like I lost where I was going on that. It's too deep of a rabbit hole. Sometimes because the thoughts of the community, and by community I mean the whole earth, is in a certain stagnancy and it hasn't grown beyond a certain point, sometimes ideas will be robbed right from your head. Can't think that yet.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's my story. I'm sticking to it.
Well, harmonic resonance fields. Like that's what this is all about is meeting of minds and creating harmonic resonance fields to push into the collective. We're enabling
Somewhat of
we're
interpretation.
enabling these thoughts, encouraging and cultivating these thoughts to occur on larger scales and farther places. It'd be great to get multilingual about it.
So there's check this out. Esposas. It's Spanish. It means two things: wives and handcuffs.
What?
Esposas. ESPOSAS. It
Really?
means wives and handcuffs.
Wow.
So, you know, the intent therein is to meet within a nut, and it's all on how you wrap it, like like literally. So everything that every time it says don't call, and I buy into a lot of this stuff, but I don't necessarily like when it takes a whole page or a whole thing to explain a concept, such as because you're trying to paint the picture a different way, like the church is. Because we all know that what you speak is what you get out, but the actual mechanism behind that could be completely different depending on how you're told to interpret it.
Yeah.
So check it out, because the intent, all our spells are cast with good intent. But if you use the wrong word in ignorance,
Yep.
what you speak is literally what you're getting back now. So even though you think you're saying good things, you're bastardizing your own karma by saying good things the wrong way.
Yep.
You get what I'm saying?
Yep.
That's a real thing.
That's why etymology is incredibly important.
I mean, it's the so I always found it weird, really weird. Certain things about languages and how they're the same. I found it weird how intent correlates over different languages to the same weird ass meanings, if that makes any sense. Like orange. I mean, we know there's a reason why most languages have the color orange as the color and the fruit,
Mhm.
right? Like even that word meaning wives in handcuffs, even that. Even like from Irish, where dia would literally be like if you're going to say a god, you would use the word dia. But if you're saying hello, you're also saying dia goit, you know?
Yeah.
But then we got media, how we have these different derivatives of same intent. Like some sounds of certain words sound very similar to the same intent of the same word in a different language, right?
Oh, very
Now,
much.
a lot of it could be because they're adapted from other languages, but some of it is also that the actual frequency vibration, like so, I always trip out on all these little weird things, like why does Y literally show the letter Y? Why is it literally one splitting into two when there's so much resistance in asking why? You know what I'm saying? Why does zero look like a zero? Why does our current updated numbers still have the symbology based on the interpretations that it can mean, even though it's changed throughout the eons? You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I've always tripped out on those little things. But since it's all self contained in my eyes or your eyes, you see what you want to see, and you can't not see. All you could see is a rendition of the data in front of you. Like, you know what I'm saying? And the data will affect your rendition.
Well, yeah. Well, I mean, because I mean, spelled words are a geometry. and that geometry correlates with the vibration. And so you've got the verbal vibration and then the drawn geometry or vibration.
I went to a friend's house. He's playing video games. Yeah, like, he's playing a nerd wizard game. He was playing some Hogwarts game. I was like, whatever. And he showed me, he's like, look at this and his spelling. He like had 4 out of so many spells, 4 out of like 20. And because he's like Stark Arts kid, I was like, holy shit, dude, you suck at spelling. No, look at my cards. No, man, you suck at spelling. Sure, you can say it really well, but if they asked you to spell
Hmm.
it,
Right.
is that how dark wizards are? They can say it really good, but if you wanted them to write it out on paper, fuck you and your stupid algorithms.
That's why they draw weird symbols and sigils.
Well, they're not weird symbols. They're a bit, when you're doing a symbol, that's more. It's like with music, right? When you're composing music and you're writing it on the sheet, you're literally doing the same thing. It literally is a record, just like why a record's called a record, because you're doing the exact same principle. Even though it's meant to be processed through the corneal receptor of the eye rather than the corneal receptor of an audio speaker, you're literally taking an object and you're engraving into another object the record.
Yeah.
Right? And then you're playing it back through a different device, be it your eye or your ear. Right? So certain things, certain vibrations of record throughout all languages, the intent has to be there for, like, because I was asking people before in other languages that speak other languages that I don't know. And the language they have, I ask them, is there two different words for comprehend and understand?
Mm-hmm.
And most of them there are.
Really?
Most of the people I asked are like, well, yeah. So it translates throughout almost all languages. It translates throughout humanity, the difference between positive or negative of each action, because that's all it could be. You know what I'm saying? If a judge asks me if I understand, I don't often get in front of these guys anymore because they don't like to name. But if a judge gets me in front of him and he asks me if I understand, I'm going to straight up ask him because I can't be held in contempt for asking a question. That's all I'll do. I'll ask him, how can a flesh and blood being physically understand? I can comprehend, but I can't understand. I'm a flesh and blood being. In order to understand, I would supersede consciousness and I would stand under everything you're doing. I would give up free will of being a conscious entity. As soon as I understand, I'm giving up. Like, you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Just like person and being. Two different things.
Oh, yeah.
But the same thing relative to context. I can't understand. It is impossible to understand. I'm a human being. But I can comprehend. I can pick up what you're putting down.
Indeed. That makes sense.
I feel like I kind of just ranted.
That's all right. It was good. It's good stuff. Good stuff. It was in flow. Hard to interrupt when it's flowing like that.
Why the guy? This kid was sitting there trying to argue me that Hitler was a bad guy, and I was like, "Look, none of us were there, and okay, all I know is that human beings don't rally around someone preaching hate. They don't do it, right? And I also know if you're a good guy in the world, you're doing some shady shit. A good guy has a good job. If you don't have a good job, how can you be a good guy, right? What are good jobs versus bad jobs? You get what I'm saying? You're doing,
Yeah.
serious shit.
Yeah. Like that's gets into the value provided thing.
That's why I don't like the name Jesus. It literally means the anointed one. Against everything that every rendition of who they're calling Jesus was teaching. And it literally does act as a placeholder. The anointed one is definitely better than me, the Pope. So all the things I told you to go do in the Middle East under the name of Jesus Christ, right? You don't get to blame me like you guys blamed Hitler. You don't get to blame me. You got to blame Jesus. He died for your sins. That's what the anointed one does. That's not what the guy who was a rebel, who was literally a rebel, he came in and said, fuck
Oh
your
yeah.
churches, fuck your establishment, fuck your money. You know, as far as I know, that's a bad guy,
Mhm.
right?
I don't know. Must be a bad guy then. Because
Well, I know I'm a bad guy. I keep having to go to court for stupid shit. Like, you know what? You suffer in the world if you're a bad guy. You really do. If you think you're going to have a hard time with relationships, okay? If you question why, you're going to have a hard time with most human beings. If you still ask why, you think too much. Quit fucking thinking. It's so much easier when I don't think, accept anything other than about the media I'm going to entertain myself with later. Fuck all that. Fuck going home and watching TV. Fucking simulate some other fucking life that doesn't even exist because I'm not allowed to have a life. Right?
Pretty accurate. Yeah.
I mean, I'm not going to lie. There was a time when video games were cool.
Hmm.
Before, they had to gentrify it all.
Yeah, before they had to turn everything into subscription services and microtransactions.
Yeah, I saw an ad for a home from way long ago, and it's like you can buy this whole home. It's like some of these homes you see go driving down Logan, these old houses. A
Hmm.
lot of those houses were under $2,000
Wow.
when they were first made. They were under $2,000, and you could afford that making 13 cents an hour. You really could. It's easier to go 13 cents an hour and have your hours mean something to build up $1,000 than it is to work $41 an hour and have those dollars mean something to add up $700,000.
Yeah. Yeah, you're not wrong there.
See, it's not that the money inflated. It's not that your money is worth 300% less than it was. Like, you know what I'm saying? 80 cents to $40, 13 cents to $40. Like, you know what I'm saying? That's not where the inflation comes in, even though that is a big difference. The inflation is the ratio from cost to good. You get what I'm talking about.
Oh yeah.
But here's the best thing. Okay. My brother was saying this a while ago, and he's true. He's on it. The reason these fiat money systems will collapse after so long is because what it actually does to the culture of humanity. It's like making a petri dish and trying to grow mold in it. Eventually, that mold is going to overgrow your petri dish,
Yep.
or something's going to, it's not sustainable. It will collapse. This bastardization of the human organic component won't be able to sustain itself for long.
Hmm.
It
Yeah.
really won't.
It will shift or it will die. That's the two options.
Keep in mind, though, that is what World War III is reserved for,
Yeah.
right? Well, we can't control them anymore. Kill them all, as many as we can.
Well, they're still doing a pretty good job of maintaining control.
Yeah, it's because this whole digitized aspect, the fact they were able to create these devices we have in our hands and these platforms and these things where our identity online, right? Back in the day, picking on someone means, we're throwing them off their bike and kicking them and spitting on them and throwing them in a dumpster. Nowadays, it's through a digital platform and you keep saying their mom's fat. You know what I'm talking about? There's a
Yeah.
whole different level of what we're trying to defend ourselves against.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Right?
Yeah. If you put your stock into it, yeah.
That's the perfect thing. Spirituality was stolen from us. So the digitized version, now we're investing in spirituality through a physical medium. Think about that one.
Hmm.
Oftentimes I look at it this way, and I gotta say this. How many people go to church because their wives make them?
Because of wife.
Yeah, because their wife.
I mean, I can speak to that one personally. My dad was kind of a mom's not in town. We're not going.
All right, my brother's texting me, asking me what this YouTube channel. He needs to get on. I'll get him to get on.
Yeah.
So check it out then. Your wife, the female aspect, she's supposed to be giving you that spirituality, right? She's supposed to have that where you lack because you got physical shit, right? But she's worshipping in someone else's fucking temple. The LDS Church, let's go every week. That's how you're getting your spirituality. Other than that, fuck you. And I'll put my sports bra on for that shit. Put my fancy bra on for that shit. Just saying, right? The church is literally robbing your spirituality. And then when we go to seek, humanity is so deficit of spirituality that these digital platforms, it's the same thing as an intangible. You've heard me go on this spiel: tangible, intangible. You
Yeah.
know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah.
The opposite polarity of intangible. So it's intangible, but it's the opposite polarity of original intangible. Tangible. Okay. And that would be imagination, the world I live in, a video game world. The video game world and my imagination both don't exist, but on different polarities. Because
Yeah.
the imagination doesn't exist in the real world, but it exists in my head. And the video game doesn't exist in the real world, but it actually physically exists within the digital platform. So
Yeah.
it does have physical substance, but it doesn't exist.
Yeah. On a server somewhere.
Yeah. Now, where my idea, it doesn't exist, but it has substance, intangible substance. You get what I'm saying? Like it's there. I can think about it.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, that's pretty tangible. It's just not in the world. It's the opposite polarity of not real. Now, because we're deficit in spirituality, it's easier to trap somebody in the more octave waves go like that. They really do. So you're going to have all four waves: isn't, different isn't,
Mm-hmm.
different isn't, right? So
The
in
four
order
corners.
for humans to get their spirituality back, they can't go back to the wave before. So they reach out to this digital aspect. I literally
That
think that's where religion is right now. Tech. It's a tech god.
Oh, and that's yeah, and that's a lot of the theories like Ishmael Perez was putting out is that the technocracy will be the lowest timeline that continues.
Fucking robots in space. Robots in space that have consumed everything and then just become stagnant floating bits in space.
You know, the rep the
Sounds pretty
repli
good, doesn't it?
the replicants.
Yeah, so and there's this. Because I told you that Stephen Hawking joke earlier, and I was like, he's into theoretical. That actually came because he asked me, he's like, no, I bet Stephen Hawking had like nerves grafted so he could feel it. Or he had or he had another a clone body. But then I was like, this. Well, how do you know what they extracted from the original body wasn't just a copy? Like, how do you know you extracted it? How do you know that's your consciousness in the new body? The Greys were dead before they even knew they were dead. Because when they were the clone, they were dead.
Yeah.
They're a copy of the consciousness. And you get what I'm saying?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Like I said,
Fucking shifty shenanigans through
no,
polarities.
no, that's some stuff that Ishmael Perez gets into a little bit, but doesn't get super in depth with it.
Yeah, I like to do that. I like to break every little bit down because that's where you get a trip on it. I'm not going to trip on the stick in the way, but I will trip on the components that make up that stick or the components that make up the components that make up that stick.
Yeah, yeah, I kind of get that way with thoughts and habits and the non-tangible things more.
So in quantum physics, there's particle entanglement.
Yeah.
Have you ever been really tripping on something like when things loop back around and you're like, that whole thing made sense?
Hmm.
Like I will bring up show, Battlestar Galactica, the new rendition. I like that because that whole entire show is a trip and it makes sense at the end why the whole thing did what it did. The entirety of it makes it what it is. And even if some of it was bullshit, it couldn't do without the bullshit when you look at it from the scope of outside of it at the end. Right? That right there is a quantumly entangled particle. All the bits of it are the entangled particles to the bit that it is. You get what I'm saying? When you're tripping, that's why there's a fly in the room. I finally answered it because that Fly is a quantumly entangled particle to those mushrooms you accidentally ingested.
Hmm. That's pretty good. That is pretty good. Well,
All right.
we're at an hour and a half. I don't know if Josh is jumping back on or not. It doesn't seem like. I mean, your brother trying to get in still or no?
No, he was asking what channel we posted to on YouTube, so I'm gonna send him that link.
Okay.
I'm gonna send him your channel's link there, and he can check these out. But I'll get him in on the future ones. So
All
yeah,
right.
I'm also at 13%. So